Hey everyone, it's Callum from Cagefront here. Welcome back to the channel. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel because we've got another predictions and breakdown video here for you today, which is of course Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree Jr., which is taking place in Baku, Azerbaijan this weekend, which is honestly so out of left field. I mean, I would have thought that the UFC would be going to like Spain or South Africa first, not Azerbaijan, but I'm happy they're spicing it up, getting the fight nights out of the Apex and going to these different regions that especially have not had events before. So I'm very keen for this one, especially because it is stacked compared to a lot of the fight nights we've had in 2025. It is looking fantastic. And that is because we got Jamahal versus Khalil in the main event, which one of them is probably certified to get KO'd stiff as a bloody board. And then in the co-main event, we've got Rafael Fiziev, who's spearheading Azerbaijan in the UFC and going up against Ignacio Bahamondes, who is looking like an absolute surging killer in the lightweight division. And then we've got a bunch of other Azerbaijani fighters, as you would expect. And then we've got some great entertaining fighters like Rizvan Kuniev, like Curtis Blaydes, like Myktybek Orolbai, and so on and so on. So what I'm going to be doing is predicting and breaking down all of the best fights for this event, and also giving out my fight card awards for this event. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, kicking it off with the absolute killer main event, which is Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree Jr. Very keen for this fight. Happy it's going to be actually happening, at least at this point, because there were talks about Jamahal Hill not going to Azerbaijan. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in America. And I mean, a lot of people traveling to and from America actually ending up in Azerbaijan anyway. So it's kind of funny that this card is happening right now. But when we look at this fight, I mean, great matchmaking by the UFC, especially in that light heavyweight division, because this is a damn dangerous fight to be putting on. I mean, look, one of these guys, whoever loses this, is going to be in a bad spot. Because you got Jamahal, who is 34 years old, you've got Khalil, who's 35, and they've both just recently had title shots. And Jamahal Hill is on a 2-fight loss streak at the moment, 2-fight KO loss streak, which is, you know, that's not putting him anywhere closer to that title. And I mean, if it's 3 KOs in a row, it's really not looking good for Jamahal Hill. And Khalil Rountree, I mean, he looked fantastic against Alex Pereira, but you got to remember, he took a lot of damage in that fight, and he's now out of his prime age range. So this has a lot of stakes on it. A lot of stakes on this fight, and I am very keen to obviously see it, and it's just going to make it that much more intense. But when it comes to who's actually going to win this, it's not as easy as I would think, and honestly, I'd be surprised if it's easy as you guys think as well. I mean, Jamahal Hill, he is the underdog at the moment, which granted 2-fight KO loss streak at the moment, and Khalil gained a lot of fans from his performance against Alex Pereira. Just showed so much heart, so much determination, and I mean, you know, he was the one that put Alex Pereira in the most trouble, aside from Magomed Ankalaev. So you got to give Khalil some credit there, and that's where, honestly, he looked better against Pereira than Jamahal Hill did, and especially from last performance to last performance, Jamahal Hill did not look that fantastic against Yuri Prochazka, whereas Khalil looked very good against Alex Pereira. And in terms of competition level, when it comes to the odds here, these guys are honestly just dead even. So like it is fairly close. I think honestly these odds could be a little bit closer because Jamahal Hill, I think he technically should be the underdog. I think that's correct, but you got to remember this guy's got a lot of KO power. And in the grand scheme of things, these guys are pretty much dead even in terms of the competition that they've actually faced. Now, granted, Jamahal Hill was a champion, but he literally won against a retiring Glover Teixeira. Like, I mean, he was a champion, but he's not the most solidified champion. And, you know, a Khalil Rountree coming off an Alex Pereira performance like that is more dangerous than a Glover Teixeira. And that was Jamal's last win. So that's where, honestly, in terms of crediting Jamahal Hill for the championship status over Khalil, who hasn't been, I don't think there's much real argument in a positive light there for him. And when we look at these guys and their stances, both are southpaws, which when it comes to Jamahal as a benefit, it does concern me a bit more for Khalil, because Jamahal has the power right hand, like a really nice, dangerous, straight right hand, which we saw what he did against the guys like Johnny Walker, you know, sent him on like a bloody trampoline, stiff as a board, funniest KO ever. But that's just the power that he has. He's very, very dangerous, and he's got the reach advantage here as well. He's got the reach advantage, which the reach is pretty much just works hand in hand with the straight strike, his best weapon that he has. So Khalil has got to be, honestly, very defensively aware in this fight. He's got to have his guard tight. And I mean, if he has his guard tight the way he did against Alex Pereira, I think he can win this fight, in all honesty. I do believe so if he keeps that defense side of things tight. And a problem with Jamahal Hill breaking through that defense of Khalil Rountree is that if he doesn't get Khalil out of there quickly, the thing that we saw against Jiri Prochazka is he tends to lose his composure and overextend on his strikes, which is literally how he got knocked out against Jiri, and Khalil's hand speed is a major issue to capitalize on that. And ultimately, if we do get the Khalil that fought Alex Pereira, he's going to beat Jamahal Hill. He is going to chin him. If he's having a super tight guard, and especially with him now going against Jamahal, granted, Jamal's got a long reach, but not as much of a reach per se as Alex Pereira, and doesn't utilize it as well as Alex Pereira does. So not as much of that technical problem he has to deal with, as well as the gas in the tank that Khalil showed to go some pretty hard rounds for like rounds 1, 2, 3 up until round 4. And honestly, I think Khalil could have gone like seriously like rounds 1 to probably like the start of round 5 going pretty hard out like he did the whole fight. It's just that he got his face absolutely mashed to bits. That's why. So I don't think Khalil has any actual cardio issues here. And I don't think Jamahal against Glover, I don't think he really showed many actual cardio issues himself. But the problem is that his technical capabilities start to just fade away. They do start to fade away, and that's exactly what we saw in that Glover fight to an extent anyway. And we saw especially in that Jiri fight, and Khalil is like twice as fast as bloody Glover Teixeira. So that's where Jamahal just cannot have that same mistake, because Khalil will capitalize 100%. And I will say on the flip side though, if Khalil's strike defense is not what it was against Alex Pereira, and he lets it slip, I can see Jamahal Hill getting Khalil Rountree out of there within 2 rounds. So it's really depending on how they seriously just come into this fight, which, you know, you probably say, well, duh, Callum, obviously, but it's really down to those specific technical parts, because they both have so much KO power. And when we look at Khalil, like literally up till the point to now, since that loss to Marcin Prachnio in 2021, you just can't deny how impressive this dude's been. I mean, I won't be surprised at all on the flip side if Jamahal Hill actually shoots a takedown in this fight, especially with how much is on the line for him. And honestly, I think it's probably the best option for him to take, especially if it starts to go late and he can't get Khalil Rountree out of there early. But honestly, you just can't count either of them out. Regardless, you can't count Jamahal Hill out as the underdog because of that power that he possesses. His right hand, when it comes to that straight strike, is the most dangerous tool here in general. The most dangerous tool. Khalil, honestly, the thing with him is as long as he can really get in range, find his groove, and get that forward pressure that he needs, he is so dangerous because he uses long combinations. He uses like 3 to 4 strike combinations, uses really, really fast hooks. Much more composed, much better with those hooks than Jamahal Hill. Jamahal tends to lose his footing when he's swinging those hooks to really try and take the head off. And if Jamal's going for a swing and a miss, which I think he will, and I think Khalil's going to capitalize, I think Khalil is going to be knocking Jamahal Hill out in rounds 2 or 3. And I think that he is going to be claiming the finish of the night here, because if there's a finish in this one, which there will be, it's going to be fucking brutal. Let's be honest here. I think Khalil Rountree is going to get this one done emphatically, and he's going to be able to get another shot at that title. Most likely, honestly, wouldn't be surprised if it's straight after this, especially if Ankalaev isn't changing hands. Because Khalil Rountree against Ankalaev, I think that does money. And Jamahal, I honestly, after this, it's going to be struggle street for him. Now, moving on to the co-main event, we've got Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This is honestly one of the craziest fights I think we can get at lightweight at the moment. This is just going to be so sick. I'm so keen for this because the striking pedigree is there. They're both super dangerous, and first of all, both this and the main event are very tricky for picks because of the finishing potential on both sides. And honestly, if you thought the main event was hard, this is literally even worse when it comes to picking, because both have incredible striking, as we know. We've got Fiziev with his Muay Thai base, and then Bahamondes with his boxing and those Taekwondo-based techniques with like the heel kicks, where he sends like half of his opponents to the fucking shadow realm, and he's got even more on top of that. So there's that, but they're both durable as hell, but both fucking dangerous when it comes to that finishing potential. So either of them honestly could get taken out flatlined here, or that their durability could shine through. And that's seriously just great matchmaking within the lightweight division from the UFC. I'm very impressed with this one. Now, firstly, this has flipped from picker mods to a slight favorite for Bahamondes at the moment, which I think on paper, I can understand that, because Bahamondes, he's 7-2 in the UFC, but the last 3 fights he's had have been absolute statements. He chinned Christian Giagos, he destroyed Manel Torres at the Sphere, and then submitted Jalen Turner, and all of those were in the first round. And with the submission of Jalen Turner, that's just making him even more dangerous because it's showing more depth to his game, because he's submitting a top 15 opposition when before that, literally all he's been doing is knocking people out. So extremely impressive there. And on the physical side, he's obviously bigger. Height-wise, an 8-inch height difference. I don't know if you would say it's an advantage technically, but he's just a shit ton bigger than Fiziev, and he's got a 4-inch reach advantage with a 2-inch leg reach advantage. So Fiziev's definitely in for it there, but I will say Fiziev as well, he's on the shorter side in lightweight regardless anyway, so he does have to deal with taller opposition regardless. But Ignacio is definitely kind of a different beast. But looking at Fiziev, without a doubt, the hardest test for Bahamondes, and granted, he's 6-3 in the UFC, with all 3 of those losses now coming consecutively as of recently in his career. But the guy got injured in the Gamrot fight. He fought Gaethje to a very close bloody decision, and then took the second Gaethje fight on short notice. So, you know, he's been through bloody uneven wars for the last couple fights, and they're the only ones that he's really lost. He lost, once by KO TKO early on in his UFC career, but aside from that, I mean, yeah, he's really been showing his worth in the UFC, and the guy is just top rank proven. He's got the experience there, but also he's got the hunger to get a win back on fair terms, and especially on home soil with a full training camp. So he's without a doubt motivated, and if he beats Ignacio, he's right back in for a top 5 opponent, without a doubt, because Ignacio is just surging at the moment. And what more hunger does Rafael Fiziev even need? And look, granted, Ignacio, he's got insane power and the reach here, and does have a higher output compared to Fiziev, but Fiziev is more accurate. And he's faster than Ignacio Bahamondes as well, especially in tight-knit exchanges, which his tight guard is used very well to get into those tight exchanges, which he did against Justin Gaethje to hurt him, did against RDA to hurt him, and did against Moicano to finish him as well. And he's also got the one-hit killers like Ignacio, which are swept more under the rug because they were from, further back, whereas Ignacio's heel kicks are really fresh, just out the water. We've seen a bunch of highlights of those, but I mean, Rafael Fiziev against Brad Riddell, heel kick straight to the bloody dome, put Brad Riddell on skates, and he had to just tap it. He couldn't, because Fiziev just destroyed him. And that's where, I mean, Ignacio, in that sense, he's got to be careful of those one-hit killer shots from Fiziev. And look, ultimately, both of them have got the threats to take each other out. That's what I'm saying here, long-windedly. And the durability as well to put on an absolute war. And look, do I think one beats the other convincingly in like a single round? No, I don't. I honestly see this coming down to impact and volume to drag it to the judges' scorecards. And I think it's going there, and it's going to be super razor close, this fight. I'm honestly, I'm going to call a Rafael Fiziev split decision to win the fight of the night, as well as to take the win in his home country as the upset of the night as well. So getting 2 fight card awards here. And as long as he's closing the distance and keeping that tight guard and mixing the shots up nice to the body and the head, which he always does, and does not allow Ignacio to maintain that distance, he can get the advantage here. But if he allows Ignacio to pump him with clinch knees up top, especially with that height difference, or strike him at the end of Ignacio's punches, I will not be surprised if Ignacio is able to take Fiziev out. So it just really comes down to those technical pinpoint areas, just like the main event. That's why it's an absolute fucking nightmare of a card to actually be betting on. And, you know, Ignacio on the other side as well. I mean, we saw him just submit Jalen Turner. So, I mean, there's a possibility there, but when it comes to that height difference, it's not always a positive, and that's why I said it's kind of hard to measure up, because Ignacio Bahamondes' center of gravity is so much higher than Fiziev's. It's going to be extremely hard to get Fiziev down, unless he's going for like a Gamrot bloody ankle pick or something, which I will be shocked if we see that. So I just think it's going to be too difficult for him to get that to the ground and find that submission. So he's got to rely on that striking, and Fiziev is a damn good striker, the best that Bahamondes has ever faced, and that's where I think Fiziev can get it done. A bit more accurate with the strikes. I think he lands cleaner when it comes to those clinch-based exchanges, especially with that Muay Thai background he's got. But that being said, would not touch this on the betting front with a fucking 10-foot pole. But I'm taking the home country man to edge this one out. Now, moving down the card, we got Curtis Blaydes versus Rizvan Kuniev. Now, before I get into this, definitely check out my Rizvan Kuniev Fighter Spotlight videos, where you can learn everything about him to get a great idea of who he is and how he matches up against the top 15, including Curtis Blaydes. And I'll say it now, with all the experience Blaydes has, this will not be easy, but he will still, honestly, I do believe he'll be able to get this one done. Do not think the odds should be that different, no way. But Rizvan, the guy, is someone that can honestly be a top 5 in heavyweight, partly because heavyweight's dog shit, but also he does have the skills there, even though he is a serial cheater. You know, he's on everybody's steroid under the sun, but he is a good fighter at the end of the day. But I think Curtis Blaydes is just a tough matchup for him because of the offensive wrestling option he does have, if it even gets there. And if they stay on the feet, Kuniev has a great chance of finishing Blaydes, to be honest. He's just got more offensive threats. But Kuniev, on his back, it's just his major kryptonite. He doesn't have a lot of options there, and I can see Blaydes getting him there with the strength in the takedowns and averaging almost 6 takedowns a fight. I think that's where he's going to really try and hunt that option. And if Kuniev goes up against almost anyone else, especially before the 5th rank, I believe that he does win that fight. Honestly, he is that good. I think he's definitely a top 10 fighter. But this just isn't the best debut matchup stylistically. But if he can get it done, heavyweights, watch out. I mean, especially at this, at almost a 4-1 dog, he's honestly worth a bet to an extent, because this is a damn close fight. But experience and takedown offense, got to take Curtis Blaydes here for the round 1 ground and pound TKO, because Kuniev, if he's going to the ground, I just don't see him having the options to really get back up and, you know, stifle Blaydes, especially with Blaydes' ground and pound. And I think that's going to be it. Round 1, ground and pound TKO finish. Now, moving down to a super fun fight, we got Myktybek Orolbai versus Tofiq Musayev. And Musayev, this is a guy who's been around, he's been shopping around a bit, he's been in Ryzen, he's been in Bellator, you know, he's pretty experienced guy. He's got a lot of KO power, 18-1 with KOs, and he's a guy that loves forward pressure. He loves his 1-2s, and he's good with his switch stance fighting. And you know, the only real loss he has in recent times is to a nut shot. So, yeah, he is a pretty good fighter. Got a bit of consistency on his hands as well. And when it comes to his hands, a lot of power in him. He has heavy looping shots. He's got good body kicks as well. But I don't really like his counter striking. I think he's someone that really needs to be attacking first, because he does stay on the center line. His head's always on that center line. Unless he's fighting guys, I've seen him fight like Akira in Ryzen, where I mean, he was just so much taller than him. Like, there wasn't really much issue because he had that distance management on lock. But even still, his head was on the center line. And that's where you can't be doing that against a guy like Myktybek Orolbai, especially if he's so focused on the striking. Musayev is so focused on the striking because that he is kind of a one-trick pony. Orolbai can take this fight pretty much anywhere. He's super entertaining. He's very durable. He's got KO power in his hands. But most of all, Orolbai has just got the wrestling there. He's got the wrestling. He's very, very good. I mean, like, he's just got the avenues to win this fight, to be honest. He's got the reach advantage here. He's got great outside reaps to get this fight to the ground. Good control against the cage. He's got great hand control, which we saw against Uros Medic. And I just see Musayev honestly really struggling with the cage pressure and the ground control. I think, honestly, if Musayev can stay on the front foot, really pressure Orolbai and somehow stuff all the takedowns, he could take Orolbai out 100%. I mean, we saw Orolbai get wobbled against Mateusz Rebecki in his last fight, so he's not unchinnable, that's for sure. But yeah, I just don't like the contrast in the discipline of grappling and wrestling. I just don't like that at all, and that's where I think Orolbai, honestly, with his caliber of wrestling and the ability that he has to get control, I think it's going to be another like Uros Medic-based win. I think he's going to be able to get this to the ground, really control Musayev, just sweep his hands, doesn't allow him to posture up to get up. But then at one point when Musayev is going to be able to really just push and heave to try get back up on the feet to go to the only place he can win the fight, I think Orolbai is going to sink in a rear naked choke around the first to the second round, and he's going to be able to take out Musayev here. Now moving on to Nazim Sadykhov versus Nikolas Motta. Now, as long as Sadykhov, for me, I think as long as he avoids that left hand of Nikolas Motta, I think he should be taking this fight fairly easily, to be honest. And, you know, the odds do suggest that. And granted, he does statistically absorb a fair few strikes, but this is against like pretty fast technical strikers like Slava Claus. And I just don't think that Nikolas Motta, he's a guy that's got power, but he's not super quick. And Sadykhov is definitely quicker than him. And with the wrestling base, I seriously just think that he's going to be too much for Motta. I think he's going to be able to grind Motta out completely. I think he's going to outwork him to a 30-27 decision. He just has to use that wrestling and just mix up the striking to keep Motta guessing, keep Motta on the back foot, get him down to the ground, take him down. And then I think he honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually finds a submission here, especially if he's getting those transitional advantages early on the ground. I think he definitely could find one, but you got to look on the other side when it comes to Sadykhov on the feet. You know, he's got to avoid Motta's left hand, especially, but you know, Nazim is durable as hell. He's durable as hell as well. I think Azerbaijan is going to get a pretty secured win here. I just think the wrestling and the cage control overall, I think that's going to come in clutch in this one. If it gets past the first round and Nazim has any form of wrestling success, Motta is going to get absolutely drowned here. Now, moving down the card, we got Muhammad Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. Now, Bogdan Grad, he is a very fun fighter. He's got a very high output. He's very aggressive. He's got just a very, kind of rabid bulldog-based style, and he's got the KO power there. But the thing I don't like about him, does not have the greatest strike defense. He stays in the pocket a little bit too long, and Naimov, I just gotta say, I mean, he is just the better fighter literally everywhere. I mean, he is just too advanced for Bogdan Grad. I think this is just too much of a step up at the moment. I'm surprised the odds actually aren't a little bit further. I would probably put Sadykhov's odds on this, to be honest. I think that Naimov should be like $1.25, to be honest, because Naimov has faced some very tough competition. Granted, he's lost a couple. You know, he lost to Felipe Lima, who is literally top 15, probably top 5 destined, to be honest. That guy is a freak. But Naimov, even though he lost, he's had that experience, and he is very strong, very strong, very strong. Like, he's got very nice KOs as well. He's got like the one-hit killer shots, like the heel kicks. He's got nice uppercuts. He's got nice overhands. And he's got the timing. He's got the timing advantage here as well compared to Bogdan Grad. And he's got that experience. And I think the ground game especially is where Naimov, I think he can seriously just drown out Bogdan Grad with more so just the strength in the wrestling. Can he submit him? Possibly, but I think he's going to be more so position over submission in this. But I think that he's going to have a pretty dominant win. If Bogdan's not able to take Naimov out in the first round, similar to Motta, I think that Naimov is just going to be able to run circles around him, and I think that he's going to be able to get a KO TKO here. I think he's just going to be that dominant. I think it's going to happen around the second or third round. After just drowning Bogdan Grad out, I think he's going to KO TKO him on the ground and pound, and I think that he is going to get the performance of the night award here. I'm giving him my performance of the night award, and I believe he can get it just because of the experience difference. I think this is too early for Bogdan Grad. I think Naimov is going to take it here pretty handedly. Now, lastly, moving down the card, which is Oban Elliott versus Seokhyeon Ko. And you're probably wondering, Callum, why are you just randomly going through this fight? Well, we've still got our Fighter to Watch award, and firstly, I will say, Seokhyeon Ko, he came through Dana White's Contender Series very well as a plus 350 underdog against Cavalcanti, went the distance, was very composed, and he has got very nice pressure. He's got power in his hands, but he is not winning this fight as an underdog. Oban Elliott is the fighter to watch here. Elliott is one of, if not the most underrated fighter outside the rankings in that division. He's on an 8-fight win streak at the moment at 12-2, and is obviously undefeated in the UFC for good reason. And I see him being able to honestly take this by any method, realistically. I will say that Ko, he's tricky in that he's got power in the hand, and it's his best chance of winning, beating Elliott by finding that KO shot. And I will say he is also pretty explosive from bottom position. So Oban might struggle to control him within the first round, but honestly, I just see Oban, especially with Oban and the way that he's looked recently, especially against Basil Hafez, taking him out. I see him outstriking him with good shot selection and level changing to keep Ko guessing. And I think that he's going to get a dominant decision win here as the fighter to watch. I'm giving him that fighter to watch award here. But honestly, if the wrestling really starts to take over, I will not be surprised if he gets a KO or a submission late in this fight once he really drowns out Ko and just drags him through. I think these last 3 fights we've gone through, I think these top fighters in Naimov and Sadykhov and Elliott, I think they're just really just going to be able to drown out their opposition here. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this predictions and breakdown video, and please comment below how you feel about this new format. Kind of quicker, more concise about the top fights and the fight card awards. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out this video on the screen, and please like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way for the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.